Well, here we are on another awesome adventure over in the west. Now, I've come over to see my old mate Jeff and have a bit of a tinker and a play with his old landies. But while I was here, I thought, why not go on a little adventure? I'm on the Great Eastern Highway and I've come across, and I'm heading to Coolgardie. Now, I've come to a place right here called Coolgardie. Now, the important part about Coolgardie is back in its day, and its heyday it was, there was a population of about 15,000 that generated here, with another 10,000 around the area. Now, what happened was this was the place that became one of the biggest towns in WA, other than Fremantle and Perth. And that's because this is where the gold rush really started. Now today, I want to take you on a track that I haven't been on yet myself, but I've heard a lot of stories about a fella that made this track from Fremantle into the goldfields. Now what it was all about was he put the wells down to create some water to go along the way on this journey. So I'm not going to tell you too much now, but it's going to be an awesome little adventure, and there's going to be a lot of stuff along the way that you're going to get to see.
G'day, my name's Jamie Hazelden and I've been travelling this great country for many years, and what I want to share with you is the great places that I've been to and the places that you can only imagine of getting to. I want to show you and introduce to you some of the colourful characters, sit round a campfire and reminisce and talk about the journey and the places that we're going to go to. So come along with me as I share this journey with you. Proudly supported by and powered by Custom Lithium.
Well, something I found quite interesting, about here, somewhere in this vicinity, in 1896, was the first arc lamp, which is a street lamp, which was set here, and it was the first one in the outback towns to have electricity, which changed the force of everything, lighting up the streets. But I'll show you what it looked like. Now, of course, there's not going to be too many photos around, but here is one right here of that light, which is really cool. And the interesting fact is, if you look at the light, it's a totally different design to today's lights. But 1896, to have street lights in an outback town is pretty cool. But another interesting fact is, in the town of Coolgardie, there was 26 hotels, and 16 of them were on this main street, which is Bailey Street. But it's always fascinating when you get into these old outback towns and you get to learn a bit of history about them. There's just so much to learn and see and do around here. But I want to go and check out the old train station next, which is down that way. You know, like as I said, 1896, they had a railway station set up here. Now, it didn't last as long as one would hope, because population dropped off. Now, the population, like I was saying, at its heyday got up to 15,000, and around the area 10,000. And now today, the population is 200 people here. So the railway, it shut down in about 1971 and has been going since. But just to see the relics and the place, what's around the area, it's just another place you've got to come and visit. I mean, they've boarded up all the carriages because they've said all the windows have been smashed out of it by locals. Still get up in an old train like this and have a look at how it worked is incredible. You know, just looking at that stuff. No idea how to drive one, but who cares? You know, it's sights like these that the younger generation don't ever get to see. But you can imagine, you know, to keep it going, you're filling it up with coal, keep that fire churning, keep that heat coming up. But, you know, you think they come back and then they get it from here, the coal, and then they're shoveling it. They're shoveling it across, bang, just to keep this thing going. How technology's changed, how things have changed. But it's just memories of that sort of stuff that you get to see and check out, especially in the condition it's in. It's amazing.
Now you can actually picture, as you sit here looking at this, they would have had to have 3 to 4 people. You know, you've got the driver in one seat, you've got another fella in the other seat, and then he's controlling some levers over there. But then you're going to have an engineer, I'm guessing, which one of them might have been an engineer, and you've got a person that's going to be probably shoveling the coal or the wood into the fireplace to keep it all running. And then you might have another person that has to scatter around the place and be an in-between on doing his jobs, or he might have to go up the front of the train or back. So, you know, it's hard to know when you don't know, and you're just trying to picture and imagine what it actually looked like back in those days.
You know, the one thing I love when I get into WA and get out these outback roads is just how wide they are, how long they go for, and just the ambience right around you. You're in the middle of the bush, you've got the sounds of a Series 2 which will keep you intrigued the whole time working out what that noise was and where it come from. But it's just the fun of enjoying what we're actually doing out here, and this is going on another little adventure to another track. This journey is bringing us to a track. Now we've just arrived at the start of this track, and this is one of the first wells that we've come across. Now you might have seen as we were travelling here how vast this countryside is, because there is no water along the way, and that's the incredible part. You've got to create it, make it however you need to. So places like this well here is what they class as a soak. Now the reason the soak's there is just up there is a rocky outcrop, and it's all granite. Now with that, what happens is the water comes in the wet season, drops onto it, and it comes down here, and with granite, when it breaks down, it turns to a clay, and a clay holds water. So therefore, it was easy, or not easy, but it was easier to hold water and make it stay there. So then what's happened here is they've created a well. Now this is where Charles Hunt found this place in the 1860s. Now he's marked it on a route, because this is the route that we're going to be taking, the track of these other wells along the way. Now this is when the goldfield rush really started to get going, but it wasn't until 1892 when Coolgardie became a town, a raving town of all these people coming into these goldfields. But along the way they had to have water. Hence why, showing you coming here, there is nothing for as far as you can see. So they had to trap the water somehow. So he's marked out a route that got people here to survive. Now back in 1888, there was another explorer that come through here. And then there was a young Aboriginal kid that helped this explorer because he could not find any water. Hence bringing him here to get him some water made him survive. As the story goes with Charles Hunt, now he was born in 1830, so he was only 30 years of age realistically when he started doing this exploration and doing the stuff that's needed to be done, especially out here with no water. But I'll take you up there to have a look. Now here's a plaque that's been here 76 years. Now I won't even try and say that, because everybody picks on the way I say things when I don't know how they pronounce. So that says it quite clearly what it is. These are the soaks, but I'm going to head on up this track. Now this is an interesting little plaque they've got here on the way up, and it's called the Holland Track Centenary, 1893 to 1993. It was a tribute that they put in for John Holland. Now he left Broome Hill on the 14th of April 1893 and came across to cut a shorter route for the gold rush. From the southwest of the colony, they camped at this rock right here in June 1893. And then they left here on the 18th of June, 2 days later, in 1893, to go to Coolgardie, which is pretty amazing when you think about the history involved in all this. And it's all to do with having a route, having plenty of water along the way, something really important. But it's just great history to understand and know about. And I cannot wait to do this John Holland track, because I've heard so much about it over the time. So it'll be another little story along the way. Now it's quite interesting because we've gone into a lot of different stages of how this layout is of the land. It's quite amazing. But what we're looking for at the moment is a file tree. And in the file tree is all these files that have been worn down or used and abused to sharpening axes. And the axes were for clearing this track. They were chopping the trees down, and of course the tree's mulga, which is a really, really hard wood to chop into. So hence why they actually have this tree that where they've stopped, chopped up the wood that went off to the railways, for the steam engines, for the trains, for running the lighting, all sorts of different stuff. But that's what all the wood went to, and they had to do that way out here, and hence that's what they were using the files for, sharpening those axes. But I'm really looking forward to finding it. We've actually bought an axe head that has been found out this way, that would have been used. So hopefully it's not too far down this track. But as we've seen so far, there hasn't been a lot of signage along the way. We've come across, ribbons and trees. Somebody had written this is the hunt track just before we entered another area, so it's not used that frequently. So it's quite interesting.
Oops, daisy. These modern cars, I'm not used to them.
Well, this isn't the tree I was imagining. I'm thinking when they said file tree, I'm thinking it's going to be this real old tree sitting in the middle of nowhere with a few files bashed in it like it has. But as the story goes, what this is actually all about is back in the day, like it is now, it still had eucalyptus trees, and they were salmon eucalyptus, so they really go to a bright pink in colour and they really stand out. But they cleared this whole area when they were making this track all the way through. But these files have all come from being used and used and used. And I mean, when I say used, I mean you can only imagine them sharpening the old axes to chop these trees down manually, as they did back in those days. But they'd drop the files and then they'd move on to the next until they'd worn them right out. But you can look at some of these files and they are completely smooth. Absolutely incredible. But this old axe head, the use it's had is just incredible. And what they used to do is they used to take it on those trains to Coolgardie as well as Coolgardie and unload from there. But you can only just sit back, imagine how, this place, there's just nothing out here. So it would have been really, really hot in those days. But coming out here, finding these sort of things is what I love to do. It's my passion, my drive of going and seeing these places. So you've got to get out yourself and have a look. It's pretty awesome. I'm going to check some more out. Now I couldn't help but notice there's a little sign on the other side, but this is what they call a native well or an amahole. And what it does is when the rain comes in, it collects and gathers in there. Now that could gather in there for a week or two, or maybe even longer, depending on the temperature of course. But you can imagine that back in the day they would use this pathway through here because they know it would collect water. Because when they see the clouds forming over in the north, they know there's a good chance there's rain coming, and especially with the southeasterly, you'll know what's happening. And then gathering that water for a drinking hole, or when they see that happening, well, they know there's going to be water in that vicinity. So it's pretty amazing. This isn't a real good example of one, but it is one that's sitting right here on the side of the track. Yeah, I was having a bit of a chin wag with Jeff before because I actually thought by putting the wood over it, it stopped the animals getting into it in a sense. But in actual fact, Jeff was saying that it's quite interesting because it stops them from birds dying in it and animals actually falling into it and getting into it, where I just thought it was to just keep them away from it so it could preserve the water a lot longer. How super exciting does it get, you know? When you think about it, we've just travelled this track down to here, and to think that Charles Hunt did that in the 1860s. Now, making that for all those prospectors that were coming through in the 1890s to get some water. He's found a track, made a track, hence where the rain comes down, the water shears off this rocky outcrop and down into those wells or soaks, and they've got water for along that journey, which I find really, really amazing. But what is even more amazing is to see this post still sitting here, and you can just see the H in the outline of that post, which is really cool. You know, when you go back in time and you think about how long ago that was, 186 years ago, thereabout. Well, that's the end of this journey. Well, I hope you've enjoyed it. I've had an absolute awesome time again here in WA. And make sure you tune in for the next one and drop a comment down below, and I'll see you on our next one.